I should have got the music lined up, shouldn't I? I realised that this morning. Oh, I've had a busy weekend. I had a full-on family wedding yesterday. So, if I hadn't had that going on, I might have remembered. Because the Mission Impossible music is a lie, isn't it? Have you seen those movies back in time? It's a lie because they always do it, don't they? So it's not impossible, is it? Because if it was impossible, the film would be rubbish, wouldn't it? That would last 5 minutes. No, it can't do that. Okay, go on. Right? But it's possible. And sometimes we think the Christian life is impossible. It's hard, isn't it, sometimes? I mean, sometimes it's great, isn't it? Sunday mornings, 10:30. What cracking worship that was, you guys. Amazing, wasn't it? And it's a funny thing, worship, isn't it? Well, what makes it good? Because it's not the musicians, even though they are amazing. And it's not the preparation, even though that has clearly gone in. But it is the presence of God. One of the joys of being here a bit earlier is I was setting up communion. And I'm worshipping as they're practicing. But they're worshipping as they're practicing as well. It's an incredible thing. And you just kind of, just praying for this space. Who knows what's gone on in this space this week? You're just praying the Spirit of God would be here. And He is. He is here. Amazing. But the mission is possible. We're going to read and think about Jesus' words about being salt and light. And we're trying to be salt and light in our community. And we're trying to do that in very deliberate ways. And we have been trying to do that for 100 and something years. And the Church of Jesus Christ has been trying to do that for 2,000 years. And sometimes they failed utterly. The mission has seemed impossible. But as G.K. Chesterton once said, 7 times the church has gone to the dogs. And every time it's the dog that dies. Great Catholic theologian of the last century. Fantastic. So let's read from Matthew chapter 5. This is often called the Beatitudes, the Blesseds. And sometimes we read this and go, that's impossible. And I think this is one of those, there's lots of explanations for this. We're not going to delve too deeply because we're thinking about salt and light this morning. But I think as you read this, remember, as a follower of Jesus, this is the only agriculture where you sow in one place and you reap somewhere else. That is the truth of the Word of God. That if you commit in this place, the Lord will bless you. It might not bless you in that moment. So when He says, blessed are those who mourn, I honestly think there's a gap. Because if you tell somebody who's mourning, and every one of us in this room has gone through that, haven't we? Yes. If you tell somebody, well, God's blessed you, they probably won't punch you in the face, but they will not be blessed by that phrase, will they? But actually what Jesus is saying is that blessing will come. That blessing of hope will come. Let's read these together. So this is Matthew chapter 5. Now when Jesus saw the crowds, He went up on a mountainside and sat down. His disciples came to Him and He began to teach them. He said, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven. See? Two stages here. For in the same way they have persecuted the prophets who were before you. You are the salt of the earth. But if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. I love the fact that Jesus sits down. All these people there. And it's a two-level deal, this. He's got the people who are really keen, who sit on the front row. Alan said to me this morning, can I sit on the front row today? I can't do the stairs. Really keen, you see. I'm not having to go to the people at the very back. Who's at the very back there? Yeah. I'm not having to go to Adrian at the very back. He's the last one. He's the last man standing. But Jesus is looking at these two levels of people, those who are following him, who've said Jesus is Lord, and those who are interested because Jesus is interesting. And people are there because he's interesting, because he says mental things for a start. Let's go and see what this Messiah, we're not calling him that necessarily, let's go and see what this prophet is saying today. And he does things, and he heals people, and he provides food, and he does amazing stuff. So there's people who are just there having a look. What is this about? And there are those who are there because they've got him, and they want to follow him, and they want to be close to him. And they're curious and they're committed. And one of the great things about Jesus is he does not discriminate against those who want to come and have a look. He says, you are welcome here. And sometimes the church has discriminated, hasn't it? You know, it wouldn't let people in with earrings and holes in their jeans. Now they give them jobs. But some of you remember that stuff. I remember I was a new Christian, and I had 9-inch spikes off the top of my head. And I went to a big church in London, and I got some grief. I went one week with a hat. I had a hat on. I like a hat. And this lady stopped me at the door and says, you can't come in here with that on, because you shouldn't have your head covered to praise Jesus. I took my hat off, and my hair wasn't spiked up that day. It was just flops in front of my face, and she was very disappointed. We've been like that sometimes. You have to be a certain person. You have to smell a certain way to come in. And Jesus is not prejudiced. He says, you can come. But do not mistake that. When you declare him Lord, he is prejudiced. When you declare him Lord, he says, this is how I want you to live. This is what I want you to do. I want you to be a light on a hill. I want you to live for me. And it's a two-tier system with Jesus. He says, you can come and watch. You can come and stand on the edge. You can come and have a look. But once you say Jesus is Lord, then he's Lord of your life. He's Lord of your finances. He's Lord of relationships. He's Lord of what you watch on the telly. He's Lord of what you look at on the internet. He's Lord of your time. And if he isn't Lord of those things, then he's not Lord. Oh. That's hard, isn't it? Can I preach on something else this morning, Lord? Please, can I? No. There we go. You know, we need to run away from this idea you have to be good before you come to Jesus. Run away from that. And we still meet people like that, don't we? Oh, I couldn't come to church. I'm not good. I always say, well, you should see the people in my church. Fair, right? I mean, we're just normal, aren't we? Of course we are. I mean, some of us are more normal than others, Nathan, aren't we? But of course we are. We're just people. We're just people who've come to this amazing man who has said, I'm going to forgive you and give you life and hope. What an amazing thing. You know, if you want to test this, think about the clubs that are out there that you can join. The Freemasonry, or the golf club, or football, or the cricket. If I want to make Rob McAvoy go pale, I just say to him something like, I might come to cricket this week, Rob. Because I have absolutely no hand, eye, foot, leg coordination. Except if I'm on the dance floor, and then I'm a mover. But, I mean, you know, I've got that going on. But I cannot bowl. I throw like a 6-year-old girl. No offence to 6-year-old girls. But I haven't got any of that stuff going on. That's how you test it. You can test it with my friend David Clark this week. Say to him, if you can't play golf, hands up who can't play golf. So over coffee later, say to Dave, oh, Dave, I'd like to join your golf club. And Dave will go, I'll tell you which one I'm in, and it won't be the one that he is in. I'll see you there at 10 o'clock next week. The church has come like that sometimes. Like, oh, you're not good enough. And this is Jesus in public, sitting down and teaching the people who love him and the people who aren't sure, and the people who are somewhere in between. And he says to them, you are the salt of the earth. And that, I think, is, for me, that's the core message that God has given me as a pastor and a preacher over 30 years of ministry. You are the salt of the earth. Because it's a word that says you are valued. And when I came to faith in Jesus, I discovered that I was loved. And that I was liked. And that my strange, quirky, not quite sure what this personality is, not very good at anything person was, he loves me. And he likes me. And for lots of us, we have never got that. And Jesus says, you are the salt of the earth. And it means value. In his society, it means you are valued. You are worth something. And you're not worth something because what you are good at. You're not worth something because you bring something to the party. You are valued because he values you. What an amazing thing. The God of the universe. He who flung stars into space. The one who made the stars also. I love that line. What shall I do now? Oh, stars. Values you. What an amazing thing. In the world of Jesus, that salary that you get paid, some of you every month, that comes from the word salt. It comes from the idea that Roman soldiers, they weren't paid in salt, but that was the idea that salt had value. This is what you got. You got something of value. It's core value of Christianity. It's not individualism. It's not my kind of modernist worldview going, everyone has to be loved. That's not where this comes from. This comes from that absolute encounter with Jesus, where he says, I love you, I know you, and I call you by name. What an amazing thing. What an amazing thing. I remember I was thinking this morning about that assembly that all of us were in at some point in school, where they said, what if they melted you down, what would be left? And what was it, like 6 nails, 2 teaspoons of salt, 3 jugs of water. Do you remember that assembly? If you didn't do that, you didn't do school in Britain. Because it was all, and I remember, I don't remember any assemblies from school, remember that. Because I remember thinking, that means I'm not worth much. And of course the teachers were trying to tell you something, but they had no reason to tell me I was worth anything. Because you are worth nothing. Unless you know the one who created you. And that is the challenge of our world, I think. And for Christians, sometimes you're walking around going, I've got nothing. But you have. You are the salt of the earth. What an amazing, amazing thing. Jesus speaks life. And he speaks life over people all the time. And that is our job, I think, to speak life over people. To say not just say nice things, but to speak life. The power of life and death is in the tongue. And we know that's true. How many of us have been called fat or stupid or lazy or ignorant or a million other things? How many of us have that spoken over us time and time again? Maybe even today that's been spoken over you. And what Jesus speaks over you is something completely different. He speaks over you life and hope and a future. Who are you listening to? Who are you listening to? You need to tune them out and tune into what he says about you. He calls these people. And they haven't got a lot going on, the people he calls. That's so encouraging, that, isn't it? I mean, if you spend a few minutes just looking at the disciples, they haven't got a lot going on. You're thinking Peter. Oh, how many Peters do we know? Just shut up, will you, and stop talking. I can't help it. It just comes out. How many Peters do you know? Denies Jesus. Doesn't that give you hope? That Jesus calls these people like he calls you. He says you have value, and he says you are tasty. I mean, taste, salt brings taste, right? As soon as you watch any cooking program, they'll talk on there about it needs more seasoning. It needs more salt. It lacks flavour. Perhaps the church has lacked flavour for a little while, but God is on the move in our nation. He's doing some new things, and why not us at the Lane, eh? Why not us? We need to get our flavour back if we've lost it. I mean, Jesus says, actually, doesn't he, that if salt loses its flavour, it's no good and it's just trampled. Not sure that was Matthew 5 or the Luke passage. But that's what he says about this. He says, salt, if it loses flavour, is just thrown out. Now, sodium doesn't lose its flavour. But this stuff is dug out from the Dead Sea, amazing place, the Dead Sea. And it's dug out from this hill, Lot's wife, they call it, from the Genesis story. And the edge of that would be gypsum. That's the substance. So it looks like salt, but it lacks flavour. And you have to dig in to get to the sodium, to get to the salt, to get to the flavour. We should be Saturday morning bacon. We should be Saturday morning bacon as Christians. We should make other people thirsty for what you've got. Oh, I want a bit of what you've got. I want a bit of that life. I want a bit of that taste. I don't want to be gypsum. I want the sodium chloride. I want the flavour. I want the taste. I want this. I want to be a tasty person in my world, in my life. They're choosing a new pope, aren't they? They haven't asked me to comment on it, but I will anyway. And I think we should pray really hard for the pope. Now, I'm not a Catholic. I'm definitely a Protestant, and some good reasons for that. But half the Christians on the planet look to the pope. They're an influential person. You know what I just said, anyway. Important. And like the last guy, I'm sure lots of issues, but one of the things I liked about him was that he moved out of the papal palace and into an apartment. And he told the guy who was guarding him, don't be standing there all night, sit down. And he took off the gold slippers and just put some Air Force Ones or something on. I don't know what he wears. But he was like, I'm not doing that. I'm doing it differently. Trying to be salt, trying to be tasty. Deliberate actions so people go, oh, look how he acted. I'm sure there's other things that we wouldn't be up for, but look how he acted. You're the salt of the earth. You're the salt of the earth. You have value, and you are tasty, and you are meant to make others thirsty. That's what Jesus is saying to his people. And they're all hearing this. They're all sitting on that hillside hearing what he is saying. Oh, how do I make people thirsty? How could my words and my deeds make people thirsty? How can I let Jesus speak in my everyday life? In my work life, with my neighbours? How do they hear Jesus? And so often in our world, you're limited to how much you can say. And that's what Jesus is on about here. But do you bring the flavour? And do you make others thirsty for what you've got? In the Old Testament, there would be a covenant made between the Lord and his people. And the covenant would take an animal and they'd split the animal in half, lots of blood. And they would put it on either side of like a corridor, essentially. And the people would walk down the middle between the two halves. And on the floor would be salt. Because you'd make a covenant of blood and a covenant of salt with the one that you say is Lord. And if you've said he is Lord, and yet you do not do as he says, then you have broken the covenant. We're going to share in the covenant in a little bit. It's a covenant of body and of blood. It's an Old Testament covenant brought into the New Testament world. And we need to spend a bit of time this morning when we come to communion. We need to spend a bit of time going, Lord, I've broken your covenant. Because you have. And I have. You've said, he's not that bothered about who I sleep with. He's not that bothered about what I pinch from work. He's not that bothered about what I say online. He's not that bothered about how I treat my spouse. He's not that bothered, is he? But he is. He is. And he says, you've declared me Lord. Will you live for me? I don't want you to go away feeling guilty, because this covenant declares forgiveness. But I do want you to go away going, I'm going to change that. I've slipped into that. I've started doing that. And step away from it again. Is he Lord over your finance? You know, if you started well, you started giving, but, you know, you've given the same as you were 20 years ago, you need to think about that. I'm not doing a fundraising for Long Lane Church. This is about your heart and your soul, your relationships, all those things. You are the salt of the earth, and you are the light of the world. What a great thing. Jesus declares himself the light of the world, doesn't he? In John's Gospel, I am the light of the world. And so then he says, you are the light of the world. What's he doing? If he says, I am the light of the world, and then he says, you are the light of the world, what's he doing? He's saying you're like Jesus. Amazing, right? You're like Jesus. How are you doing shining? I've had a couple of incredible light of the world experiences this week. One of them, lots of you saw, and again, if I hadn't had a wedding all day yesterday, I'd have had a picture. Was it Gakpo? Come on. What's his name? And what does his shirt say? I belong to Jesus. Something like that, anyway. I mean, he hasn't got a public platform of preaching. He's not out on the street in Liverpool declaring Jesus is Lord. He's on the telly. I don't know if you've seen I think it's the back four of Crystal Palace. I'm not, you know, if you don't do football, just don't worry. I'll move on quickly. But those back four guys are praying every day for the team. I've seen they've got little bands on saying Jesus is Lord. One of them keeps getting fined over and over again because Jesus is Lord. And he's, well, keep fining me. They pay me so much money, I can afford the fine. Because Jesus is Lord. And the FA isn't. And you get that? The FA isn't Lord. And Nick isn't Lord. And your employer isn't Lord. But Jesus is. And sometimes we've mistaken the two things. Jesus is Lord. What is he calling you to? So that was the public one. But then I had a lovely thing happen to me yesterday. So I'm at my niece's wedding, which was fab. Really lovely to be there. And we're having a conversation with a friend of Angie's, you know, from years back on one of those round tables you can imagine at Carney at this wedding. And she says, oh, there's this lovely lady in our church. She's an elderly lady. And she said, over the years, she's been fantastic to me. She's really kind of helped me with, as the kids were growing up, helping me be a good mum and a Christian mum, helped me to pray for my kids. She said, oh, what a lovely lady. She said, and this lady's got a nephew who's in a care home in Liverpool. And she was telling me how this man who's in a care home, you know, is a believer, but he can't get to church or anything. And she said to her, does he get any fellowship? She says, oh, the church are brilliant. So the pastor goes and visits him. He's such a lovely guy. He's from the northeast. Have you ever got caught doing the right thing? It is a lovely thing. It's a lovely thing. It's Paul's anti-moo. What a lovely thing for me to sit there and our friend's telling us the story. And she tells it like that. So she's building up to it. And I'm sitting there going, that sounds like me. I'm looking at Angela and I'm just going, yeah, it's you. Oh, it is me. I'll tell you that out of a little bit of pride. I confess that to you. But also because that is you. You don't always get to hear the story. You don't always get to hear the story. You don't always get to hear the end. But let me tell you, church, some of you are amazing at being light. Let your light shine. I mean, let's face it. In that situation, I am just doing my job. Just like you. I'm just doing my job. But I'm doing my job in a place where no one can actually tell whether I've done it. None of you know. Just one. And God is gracious enough to me to show me. Just ready for today's sermon. You are the light of the world. In the Old Testament, the light of the world was seen as the Torah, the Word of God. And it was seen as the presence of God. That's how big this is. Jesus is not just saying, oh, you're on the CAP Befriender team, you're the light of the world. Or you're on the youth team, you're the light of the world. Or you're on the welcome team, you're the light of the world. He's saying you are the presence of God in the place where you live and work. That is big, church, isn't it? It's not some little thing. This is the God of the universe. We've already discussed the stars he does. And have you seen the Galapagos Islands? I mean, amazing. And he's saying, this is you. I mean, I think that hillside by the Sea of Galilee, people are disturbed by his word. We take it for granted because we've heard it all our lives, some of us. But you should be disturbed, and I should be disturbed by his word. Because what Jesus says to me today is that I am the presence of God. Don't make that into a cult. Because that happens, doesn't it? But you hear what he's saying. You're the light of the world. You're the salt of the earth. Don't cover what God is doing. Don't cover what God is doing. Let your light shine. Oh, let your light shine. And don't belittle what God is doing. Sometimes you go, well, I'm not Elliot, I'm not a youth pastor. I'm not Izzy, I'm not a church leader. Don't belittle what God is doing in your life. Because he's already told you, you have value. Hasn't he? Yes. Take that with you today. I am valued. And therefore, I should shine. You are the salt of the earth. And you are the light of the world. What amazing words for us. But the counterpoint to that is this question about Jesus being Lord. And I don't want you just to go away going, that was great, wasn't it? Valuable, lovely. I want you to go away going, where's he not Lord? Where's he not Lord in my life? I'm asking myself the same question. Where have I stopped trusting him? Or where am I ignoring him? And what is he saying to me today? I'm declaring you, Lord. I want to walk the way you have called me to walk. As we send for the kids, we'll just have some moment. Jean, would you mind just giving the Jill and Jill a 2-minute warning? Great, thank you. Let's just have a moment of silence. St. Paul says in 1 Corinthians that when we come to this lovely meal, we should examine ourselves. Well, that's what we've been doing this morning, isn't it? Let's examine ourselves. Let's just spend a moment or two before the noise comes and examine ourselves. You might want to close your eyes, you might want to keep them open. We'll just stay quiet until the kids start filing in.